One of the things I had to go through early in my journey is to think about my children. And there was like this big hurdle I had to get over, which is whether or not I was being selfish by quitting my job, which was a stable job, a decently paying job, and pursue this new path, or to just continue working there and earn money until I was basically forced to retire. And by earning that money, I would pay for my children, this is my 2-year-old daughter, and their tuition and livelihood. And that was a struggle because, I mean, on the surface, it would seem like a selfish thing to do, that I'm pursuing my own passions and my own needs and desires of fulfillment at the expense of my children and not providing the best possible pathway and platform for them to grow up and become successful themselves. And so that was a struggle that took quite some time for me to think through and make a call on what I was going to do. It was a struggle, a huge struggle, and I had to really question myself deeply as to whether or not this was a good idea to begin with, and more importantly, a good idea for who. What actually really matters is not earning as much cash as I can make and have the lowest risk profile while earning that cash for my children at the expense of being hollow inside and not actually, living life. And that's what I am trying to teach them. And that's probably the most important thing I want to teach my children, is that life is not about the rat race and just earning as much cash as you can and having, a safe, insulated setup. That's not really living. And I'm very open in the sense that whatever they want to do, as long as it's not something unethical or illegal or bad for humanity, I don't really care what they do as long as they live life while doing it. Shiloh, what do you want to be when you grow up? Yeah? Okay. Anything you want to be, Daddy will support. As long as you live life to the fullest, okay? Don't zombie out on me. Okay, good girl. And that's the support and important thing I want to teach them. And, I realize that I need to actually practice what I'm preaching. And that's the only way for them as they're growing up to see their own father doing what he's telling them and what matters in life. And I thought that actually is something a lot more important than the incremental, advancements in, what school they go to or what place and, what kind of a house they live in and all that other stuff. And once I made that decision, I realized, the most powerful thing was I realized even in failure, it would still be an important lesson for them to watch how, their own father really gave it all he had and failed, but he stuck true to his guns and didn't basically sell out. And that, when I made that realization that essentially there was no way to fail, it was pretty clear for me what to do. But it wasn't an overnight thing, and I really had to think it through. And growing up, my father really gave us all the opportunities. I went to the International School of Manila, went to Tufts University, I had all this access. Heck, I even went to St. George's School in Newport, Rhode Island for a summer because my dad wanted me to go to a place where, princes of monarchies go to. It wasn't really until I had the internal awakening midway through high school that I was able to put to good use the opportunities in front of me. And so that's the cart before the horse. I want to make sure my children understand what's important in life from the get-go. And perhaps they don't go to the most expensive schools or most elite organizations. But as I've learned in life, that doesn't really dictate how things will pan out for you and whether or not you accomplish things. I mean, look at my life. And I just need to reflect on what I went through and how I grew up and what I'm doing now to understand that, that's the truth. And so that sank in when I just looked at my own life, when I played out the possibility of me failing, when I looked at what really mattered and what I was trying to teach them. I mean, the hope I would have is that they look at their dad and be like, hey, Dad, we didn't go to the most expensive schools and the top tier education system and live in a $1 million mansion and have a Lamborghini. But Dad, yeah, what you did really mattered to us, and we're trying to be like, you're kind of our hero, Dad, and we love you for that. And that is the thing for me that sealed the deal, right? Because then that just gives me more motivation, right? Because that it's the best thing I can teach them is through the example of what I'm doing. And ultimately it's not just them. So the message here is, it's, yes, you have more responsibilities when you're older, and it's harder to just quit your job and do a startup. That's all true. You accumulate these responsibilities. But even if you don't have children, the next question then is, it doesn't mean you don't have responsibilities. And let me tell you what the ultimate responsibility is, besides children. And it is actually to yourself, right? You are responsible to yourself to hold yourself accountable and live an integrity-filled life, and not a complicated multi-version of yourself, doing one thing, saying another, believing in one thing, and acting in another way, but rather collapsing that into the single version. That is your responsibility to yourself, and it's the ultimate responsibility, because that's the one that you take with you on your deathbed at the end of the day, right? And so if you look at it from that point of view as well, you want to be your own hero. You want to be your own hero. You want to do the right thing. Having said that, doesn't mean that I'm going to do something rash or irrational and jeopardize the situation where they just won't even have any opportunity, can't go to college, or can't go to a somewhat decent college, and take a gamble in that sense. So no, I'm not saying that we should do that. You should plan things correctly, take the time to build up to the point where it can go, and then make the move. Even if it's a difficult thing, as long as it's not a stupid thing or an ignorant thing or a gambling thing, but you planned it out, you thought it through, and you have this setup, and you pursued it in the with all of whatever you threw at it. I tell you, when the time comes and you're at your deathbed, that is going to be the single most important thing when you replay your life at that point in time, on basically your memories and evaluation of what you did during this version of your reality. One of the things that I really value as well is having the time to spend with my children on an afternoon like this. And heck, going on a swing feels quite good. But I make sure that I budget in family time into my schedule, since I am the master of my schedule. That's one of the things that is priceless and super important as far as developing their consciousness as they grow up from a young age like this. So having said that, I just wanted to let people know here that, yeah, it is tough, but there are reasons why, even with children and the responsibilities outside of them and the ultimate responsibility for yourself, why making such a move a smart way, right, and not a gambling or risk-filled way, is perhaps one of the most important things you can do. And it actually really doesn't matter what age you are. It's just that as you do get older, that layer gets thicker and thicker, and it's tougher to slice through. And so that's why for me, even though I did do this when I was in my late 30s and doing it again now, it's more difficult, I'm not gonna lie. But at the same time, it affects everybody. And I hope this message makes it to anybody out there who may be facing similar questions in their head, or they're thinking about quitting and they have children and they're not sure whether or not they're being selfish to themselves, and all of this mind games that prop up as you're thinking this through. Well, I got this point of view to share with you for you to consider and to incorporate into your decision making. It's something that I decided with 100% conviction that this is the right way for me to go, not just for me, but for my children as well. And I hope that this message helps you in your journey as well. Having said that, thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next episode.